life was good. I was living the American dream to everybody else, but inside I didn't feel right, and I didn't know why. Still trying to figure out, like, what's my purpose? What's my identity? Once I had that, I was like, why do I still feel bad? I just didn't feel good as a person, and that was very confusing.
Did you ever feel that there was pressure in your life to be successful?
Pressure for sure was to not be a loser. The nice car, the nice house, things like that, that was never really motivating to me. I was blaming the world and not looking internally to, like, hey, how do I fix this for myself? So you can't just, like, change overnight your whole life. But you can change a small little thing and get that win. There's no way that your life can be miserable if you surround yourself with good people, you take care of your health, you learn money and finance, you work hard at whatever you do. Like, how can you lose? All right, let's do it. Rock it.
Oh, he sunk right in, baby.
I got the Submariner purely for this.
That's it, man. What a day. Today on Cold Tub Talks, we've got a stud of a man, Matthew Petruso, a true alpha. I'd say an ideal figure of what any man would truly want to be.
Agreed.
Matt, before you built Medicare Mentors, before you found your mission in serving people through Medicare, who were you when you had some uncertainty, you were going through some struggles in life, and you're still figuring out your identity?
Yeah, it's actually took a lot longer than what you would expect, because even in my 20s, when you kind of think like, oh, he's got the American dream, he's got his own business, he has a good relationship, all this other stuff, and at 29, I was on paper pretty successful, but in my mind I was still kind of very hectic, still trying to figure out, like, what's my purpose, what's my identity. And it took a tragic event, which we can maybe get into on the couch, maybe not in the
yeah,
tub,
we love tragic
but kind of
events.
changed up how I looked at things, and just gave myself a lot more peace. Business grew a lot faster, and now I feel really good. I'm in the best shape of my life at 38 years old. Feel great. I get to live how I want. Financial freedom was always the goal. I get to help people when I want and who I want, and life is good.
Look at that smile. That says it all.
Yeah.
So you kind of glazed over the tragic event. Do you feel like you needed that to overcome those obstacles and become who you are?
Yeah, I don't know, because we can only think from our actual past experiences,
Sure.
and sometimes our mind is kind of formed, and sometimes it takes a tragic event to kind of loosen some of those paths that your brain will tend to go down. And I like to think that I would have matured and figured out how to be at more peace and not just be a complete psychopath, on a mission to just succeed at no cost to anybody else, or whatever it may be. But the thing that did come was I was able to enjoy my life a lot more. I was able to be more at peace and help a lot more people. And, the path that we're on now is, I guess, the only thing that we can look at, right?
That's awesome. Did you ever feel that there was pressure in your life to be successful? With your dad was a businessman, right? Your uncle was fairly successful in business. I think you told me about 10 years ago, and I remember. Did you ever feel like there was pressure that you needed to become successful and follow in their path?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the pressure was. The pressure for sure was to not be a loser. That was the main thing, because in high school and just in general, I didn't really have a path. My dad was an alcoholic growing up, so when I went to school and when I was with my friends and my family, I was always just the goofball trying to get attention, because that took my mind off of how chaotic things were at my house. So I think most people thought I was probably going to be the least successful out of the bunch, and
Wow.
I guess that was my motivation when my dad got sober and became a really good mentor to me in my 20s. I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to just quit. What am I going to be? Just a
loser.
A loser. Yeah. So that was a big motivation for sure. So I don't know if it was pressure from external sources. It probably was, obviously, but it was definitely an internal battle.
Yeah. I know you mentioned it to us inside, but how did you choose the path you're on now to get into the Medicaid system?
Yeah. So it wasn't a path that just like, I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to be when I'm 14 years old. I really had no clue. I went to college only because that's what everybody else was doing. And I actually because I was such a goofball and didn't take high school seriously at all, I actually didn't get into any of the schools my friends got into, and I barely got into a local university that basically put me on a probation period where it actually helped a lot because it forced me to actually like take myself seriously when I was at college and didn't have any friends to like rely on. And I ended up graduating like, I think summa cum laude or something, over 3.5. And I graduated high school with like a 2.3 or something like that, you know? So that was a stepping block when I was at college. But then when I went after college, I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? You know? And I started working at this oil and gas company because my ex-girlfriend's, uncle got me a job there. It was a 9-to-5 job. And I was just like, this is terrible. I'm miserable. I saw people that worked there that were 40, 50 years old. And I'm like, if this is me when I'm 40 or 50, I might as well just quit now. You know what I mean? And luckily, I didn't know what exactly my dad did. I just knew he was home at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and never worried about like if a tire popped on his car or like the laundry, machine broke. He just fixed it, right? Like it wasn't like a big deal. So it wasn't like we were wealthy, but it was more like he didn't stress about money. And that was a big thing for me. I was like, oh, he has a little bit of freedom. He's not like on anybody's schedule and he gets to live stress-free about money. So I was like, all right, well, what does he do? And when I was working at that oil and gas company, I was like, well, he sells life insurance, right? That's what he does. So I went and got my life and health license when I was still working for that other company. And I thought, I was like, oh, I'm just going to come home one day and be like, hey, Dad, I got my life and health license. Let me come work for you. And I did that, and I was still working for the other company. And he actually told me, you should stay at the 9-to-5 because it was a good opportunity. And this job is really hard. It's commission only, like there's no safety net. And 92% of all insurance agents quit and fail within the first year,
Wow.
So it's a very low success rate. So he was trying to be, nice about it and say like, stay at your 9-to-5. But luckily, I got randomly fired from that company. And after that, my dad was like, all right, I'll let you give it a shot. And at that point I was like, all right, well, I got nothing to fall back on. And then I started in the Medicare business, which I didn't really even know what Medicare was, but I just got fired from my 9-to-5 job. And I was like, all right, well, what do you actually do, Dad? And that's what he did. So I started working for the agency that he worked for. He was just the manager. He didn't own the agency. So after a couple of years of working with him, I was like, all right, well, I don't really like working for somebody else. I'm still, I'm 1099, I'm self-employed, but I want to start my own thing. And I already built up a good book of business at that point. And my dad was like, well, if you don't go now, you don't have any kids, you don't have any like responsibilities. If you don't go now, it'll be very difficult to start your own thing after you build up like a really nice book of business. So at 25, I left and I started my own thing. So that was it. That was the journey.
Now, do you think that he didn't share with you what he did? Because you were in your 20s by the time you were kind of questioning, what does my dad do? Do you think it was because of the low success rate in the industry that he just kind of didn't open up about that?
Yeah, I think it's just I knew a little bit, like I knew we sold insurance, but like I just dealt with old people, but like I was so focused on my own self, like I didn't really know what business was. So I didn't go into details of like what type of insurance do you sell? Like who do you sell to? Like what does that, what does that look like? And then when it came down to like, oh, I'm actually in the workforce now, like what do you actually do? It took something like that. So it wasn't like I was asking, or he was like trying to hide it from me. I didn't care, until it actually mattered.
Is your bond better therefore since you've gotten into the business? Did you create a better relationship with your dad going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing journey over the, when I first started my agency in 2015. He was very proud of me, and the tragic event was in 2017. My dad, at 59 years old, unfortunately, he got hit by a motorcycle and passed away at 59 years old. So that was the tragic event when I was 29.
Oh, wow.
So yes, I built a really amazing relationship with my father, and I believe he was very proud of me, starting my own thing. And that was the tragic event, was my father at 59 tragically did pass away. So,
oh, man.
Wow. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
No worries. Yeah. So
what year was that?
I was in 2017. So I think it was right before we met actually.
wow.
So
Okay.
I was kind of on like in that period we met in 2018, 2019. I was going through a really kind of transformational period of my life, kind of figuring out like, because like I said, even at 29, I built up a pretty good business. I already bought, I think maybe 10 rental properties at that time. You know, I was in a relationship. So 29 years old, on paper, I was already a millionaire and life was good. I was living the American dream to everybody else, but inside I didn't feel right and I didn't know why. And then when my dad passed, I had to go down a journey for the next couple of years to kind of figure out what that was.
Yeah,
So,
that's surely life altering. Do you think it just fueled the fire that much more when you passed from a business perspective? Do you think you pushed harder, worked harder, became even more successful than you were beforehand?
it pushed harder in the sense of figuring out what my objective of what I was doing was. Before it was kind of, it was selfish in a way because I wanted to prove that I could not be a loser and be successful. And I think that was a big driver for me to like prove my dad I wasn't a loser. And then when he passed away, then it brought a lot of peace to myself and it wasn't like a drive like I needed to, because my business was already successful, but it's grown tenfold since then, but not in the same way. It grew in a lot more like actually beneficial way to like, hey, I'm going to focus on like, how can I be the best provider to my clients?
So like
right?
more fulfilling.
100% more fulfilling. You know what I mean? Before it was very, you know, it's just like, oh, this is just a business. I'm just going to make as much money as I can or whatever it was. Like it wasn't in the sense of like, I'm going to be the best for someone else in service of someone else.
Yeah.
It was more of a selfish intent.
It's almost an elevated level of rock bottom. A lot of people have to hit rock bottom before they're like, that's it. I'm making a change. I'm forcing the change to become the man I want to be. And it was almost like you already had the cushion, but with your father passing, it's like you took it to another level.
Yeah, it wasn't a financial rock bottom, but it was definitely an emotional rock bottom because in that same period after my dad passed, my 10-year relationship that I was in ended abruptly because of stupid decisions that I made.
wow.
So yeah, I was in a very emotional, chaotic state. So
Yeah.
yes, it was a definitely rock bottom, not
Yeah.
financially, but still it was my rock
Well,
bottom.
it goes to show that you never know what's going on behind the scenes, because if we met you right around that time, you put on a pretty face, man. You would have never known.
Yeah, you know, at
No,
that
wow.
time, you know, I was still figuring it out, but I think I'm much better place now, hopefully.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Quick shout out to the Pod Company, the sponsor for the Cold Tub Talks. I'm sitting here in the Ice Pod Pro, Coach Devin's in the Long Pod, and you can get your discounted cold tub in the description below. Check it out for yourself.
All right, so Matt, you faced losing some opportunities, some job setbacks, and it sounded like in the tub some disappointment from your father responding to how you were looking to follow in his footsteps. Was there a moment whether you seriously questioned whether you should even keep pursuing this path?
I mean, the questions only really came when I was just miserable every morning and not knowing what my purpose was. It was never like, I'm going to quit just because it's too hard or anything like that. It was just like, I don't feel good, you know? Like, at first, with anything, when you're a man, you're like, all right, I want to be able to provide. I want to be able to not be a loser, like I've said 1,000 times. And you want to go out and find just like, what am I valuable at? Like, can I contribute to people that I care about? Can I be in control of my life, have some autonomy? And once I had that, I was like, why do I still feel bad? You know what I mean? I was like, but it was a mental thing. I didn't understand because we weren't taught in school or from growing up, like, hey, there's emotions that come with just age and how to control your emotions, like the cold plunge, and taking care of yourself in that way is very important. And these emotions that you have may be just a cause of not controlling and not understanding psychology and understanding the purpose of growth and fulfillment and things like that. And just that was the big thing. It was just like I just didn't feel good as a person. And that was very confusing. I woke up every morning. I'm like, I'm still going to do it just because like it became a routine of just going, building the business. But I was just like, why don't I feel good? Like I'm achieving things that I wanted to achieve, but it didn't feel good. And it was the mental thing. So that was the only thing I was like, but it wasn't like I'm going to quit doing anything. That was never really a thought in my mind.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of emotional trauma. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
It's all the emotional game for you.
yeah, it was when I was growing up, like I said, it was very hectic. I was the youngest child, and it wasn't like, I'm not overdoing it or underdoing it by any means. Like, everybody has their own trauma, and whatever your trauma is the most trauma that at that time in your life, right? Like, that's all it is, right? So it was very traumatic to me when I was a child, and that's all I knew. So, but I didn't know that it was traumatic. So I had to figure that out and not blame the people that I was growing up with or whatever it was. I was blaming the world and not looking internally to, like, hey, how do I fix this for myself? Like, don't worry about what happened. It's just what is what it is. And that gave me a lot more understanding of how the world works.
Yeah.
And how my mind works.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Everything you just said totally makes sense if you think about it.
Yeah.
What was your childhood like growing up? I know you said your dad was kind of an alcoholic when you were younger.
Yeah, it was just an interesting like I tell people I have two different dads, right? Because the first 15 years of my life, now that I'm older, I'm able to process things and understand his perspective at the time. But my first 15 years of my life, my dad had already had 3 children. My mom was 24 by the time she had 3 kids. And my dad, they were very young and they had 3 kids already. And my dad didn't come from a successful family or anything like that. And my mom had to work, every day as well to take care of these 3 kids. And there was just a lot of stress. So I can see why he went to alcohol and didn't know how to manage everything that he was having to deal with in his 20s as well. So, but my first 15 years on this planet was very chaotic because my parents fought a lot. My dad obviously drank a lot. He was a very fun, drinker until he drank too much, right? Then he became angry and resentful, and it got very hectic. And I remember just, when I was a young kid, I would come home and I could smell the Jack Daniels in the house, and I still don't like that smell, and I don't drink myself because of that. But I remember I was like, oh, that smell. I'm like, if I could smell it, it's not going to be a good night, and, So I always had that memory. But then my parents got divorced, and it was very chaotic. It was just very chaotic for the first 15 years, and then 15 to 17, my dad finally got sober. I was living with my mom at the time and just kind of figuring things out. And then when I graduated from college, my dad had sobered up and really kind of established himself back into being a very good father. And he passed away right before my 30th birthday. So that second 15 years, he was a completely different man. Mm-hmm. So it was, like I said, it was very influential in a sense of I learned a lot of things of what not to do from my dad, when I was in my early years, and then a lot of great things that I learned from him for the second 15 years of how to be a leader. He was when he passed away, he was a huge leader in the AA community. He helped hundreds of people. So there was a line around the block for hours of people coming and telling us how much my dad changed their life and saved them because he was a great storyteller, and he would tell these amazing stories of the craziest shit that he would do, when he was a drunk. And that's basically what AA is. If you go to an AA meeting, it's basically just the craziest stories you'll ever hear. Okay. And all the people just talking about them and talking about how God saved them and this community saved them and, their family saved them. And he was that guy. Whenever he would go, people would love to hear him speak, and he would change people's lives because these people that would come in, they were like, oh, nothing's ever going to, be good again. And, the best times were back when I was drinking and my life's shit or whatever it was. And he was just a really amazing sponsor to a lot of people. And so, yeah, I learned a lot from him in both perspectives, the good and the bad.
Sure. So, what a dynamic between the two fathers. I like how you put that.
Yeah. I tell him two different dads. Yeah.
He sounded like the Tony Robbins of the AA community out there.
I mean, a way different, with way different stories, I'm sure. But yeah, he was very motivational in the sense of, he became very successful too when in the second 15 years. He had been in insurance for my entire life. So even when he was a drunk, he was really good. He was a really good salesman, but he didn't really have much to show for it. But then when he got sober, he became the number one salesman in the country for a lot of the, not for just his insurance agency. So he worked for an agency that was based out of Philadelphia, and he was always the number one agent every single year at that agency. But in the entire country, there's certain insurance companies that we sell for, and that I sell for even as, at my agency. He was the number one salesman for that entire insurance company.
Wow.
In the entire country. Like, he was an amazing salesman. So
Damn.
he became, very successful in his own right. So that was a very influential person to just, everybody liked to listen to him when, after he became sober.
Yeah.
Like, he was a good salesman before, but then he just took it to another level.
Dang.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's I'm sure awesome for you to look back on now as you age and kind of see the two different versions that there were. Is there ever anything that people say to you now that gets under your skin? Like from peers, from friends, from family?
Even clients, right?
Yeah, even your clients.
I say this a lot too, when you're young, when you're building, your confidence has to come from kind of a false belief of yourself, right? Like, it's not, you haven't achieved anything yet. So when it's built on kind of, nothing, little things can bother you a lot. Like, so somebody could say something and it triggers you because, you're relying on just fumes. You're like, I know I can achieve something, but like, I know this is true, but I haven't had the evidence to prove it yet. And anybody says something that triggers something that goes against that, that what you believe to be true, it can cause a lot of, pushback. Now, to be honest with you, the only thing that kind of, upsets me is stupidity. Like, if somebody's lazy or stupid, you know what I mean? Like, if somebody's lazy or stupid,
Resonate
and like,
with that.
I'm just like, I got nothing to say. I'm like, this is,
Yeah, especially when you're a conscious adult. That's the part that gets me. When you
yeah. So like, somebody says something to me, I don't really care anymore. I'm like, I'm rich. You know what I mean? Like, I get to do whatever I want. I get to live however I want.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say to me? Whatever. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm shorter than, I'm not 6'5". Like, okay, cool.
Short guy club. Let's
Yeah,
go.
who cares, right, dude?
I bet you're more shredded than them, though.
Whatever. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's like,
It doesn't even matter.
I feel pretty good. I'm like, man, I like myself when I look at myself in the mirror at night, in the morning. Yeah, cool. All right, cool. What are you gonna say to me?
Exactly.
Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? It's all good. So, but that's from a foundational standpoint of like, I've built who I am and doing the things that I know I should do. And when you do that, you do actually just build a person that you admire. Like, I would have looked up to this person when I was 16 years old, right? And I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect human being. You'll never be a perfect human being. But at least, like, if you can be honest with yourself and look at yourself and say, hey, I've done what I said I was going to do. I have control over my emotions. I can, not, eat the cheeseburger every single day, and I can limit myself to, not being a scumbag, not take advantage of people, and that at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. Can you sleep well at night? Like, I take care of my clients. I don't do any shady deals. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to tell anybody like I'm the coolest person on the planet. I have all these followers. Like, who cares? Like, I think the more I get, more older I get, and I guess the less I care about what the majority of people think. Like, when you're young, like, you don't really have any value. So like, you think being famous or having these followers makes you cool because it's an external validation. But if you're internally validated and fulfilled, I don't really care. Like, I was telling my friend yesterday, like, I just want to buy like a compound of like 100 acres or something, build a couple houses for my boys and my families, and have like a middle playground and a middle pool, and like we all just like hang out, and have some cows, have some chickens. Like that's the
Yeah.
goal. Like I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like
There's a lot of common denominators of successful men.
yeah.
Everything you're saying, like we've talked about the same thing, that we literally just came from a compound in Central Florida that we were staying at for a whole month. Same concept. We've talked about creating our own. And when you get past a certain stage in life, you realize none of that shit you cared about when you were 20 really matters. But most 20-year-olds, not all, can't speak.
It's Mexico, so I don't really care. And also, I don't care what anybody thinks of me, you know? So, like, I'll rent a car that's just, like, the cheapest car or whatever,
Yeah.
and I'm just driving around. Like, I have, you
cares?
know, $150,000, $200,000 worth of cars at my house just sitting in a garage, you know what I mean? Not getting touched, and I'm driving around like this $10,000 Nissan or something in Mexico in the winter. And, like, it's just such a fun I think it's very important for a lot of people to kind of get out of like your own comfort zone in that way, not like to push yourself. What's like, no, I go down there because I'm so grateful because you see people that live, you know, in such lower standard of living that what we think is like normal or whatever, and they're super happy and whatever they're just going by. You know what I mean? Like, just be grateful that I'm in a position now that like I don't have to worry about money.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
I might not have $1 billion. That's okay, cool. But like, I don't have to worry about money.
Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. You know,
So
it's
you made-
great. Like,
yeah. On the way down here, we intentionally stayed at a Red Roof Inn just because it was fun.
yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For real.
Yeah.
Who cares?
And to have the same smile on your face and not give two shits about staying at the nice place, it's,
Oh my God. So
it's a good feeling.
the people that I hate the most is these entitled people that like, if something goes wrong, I was just telling my buddy Dave that I was telling, he actually lives literally, like when I was driving over here, I was like, Dave, I called Dave and he's in Vail right now skiing, but his house literally is down the road.
No way.
Yeah. So I was like, I was going to go say hi to him, but when I called him, I was telling him about this resort that I just went to in Isla Mujeres and it's in Mexico, but this resort, it's like $2,000 a night. It's like a crazy nice, like it was voted the most Instagrammable hotel in 2024 and 2025. It's this Impressions hotel. It's amazing. It's
Okay.
crazy. But when I'm there, you literally get your own catamaran that picks you up from Cancun, brings you to the island. So, you know, it's amazing, right? When we're there, there was this couple that was on the catamaran on the way over. It was this couple from, you know, Toronto. And it's such an amazing hotel. And
What's it called?
Impressions at Isla Mujeres. But the people that, you know, we had talked to this couple that was on the catamaran over, and we'd saw them a couple times over the course of the trip. And I just remember like the girl was just like, you know, this isn't that good. Or I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, how entitled? I'm like, this is like the nicest, like, what, like nothing's perfect. You know what I mean? Like, but you can, if you're looking for things to be unhappy about, you'll always find them. But if you're looking for things to be grateful for, like you will always find them. And I just, these people that always thinking like they want everything to be perfect. And I see it so much because I own a bunch of Airbnbs and stuff now too. So there's
Certain guests.
certain guests. Oh my God. Like the entitlement, like some of my places, like you're getting like a 3-bedroom apartment, like full of, everything's included. It's like it's like some days in the winter, like, cause it's not like, it's not Florida, right? It's like $100 a night, less than $100 a night. And these people think they're staying at the Ritz-Carlton. You know what I mean? I'm like, where are you getting these entitlements? Like, I'm like, this is insane. You know what I mean?
We can't even
like,
get
what's
our
it-
EV charger
Yeah,
working. We see us complaining.
Well, what's one example? Like, what's a
mean-
gnarly request or
It's not even just a request. It's just like they think that everything is like gonna be, I don't know, like, what do you think you're gonna get for $100 a night? For me, I'm like, man, I give you, we keep it clean. Like you have beautiful, like you have all new furniture, you have all new bedding, you have like everything's nice. Like it's not like a shithole or anything like that. But it's just like I'm trying to even think of like an example of like something that they just
like the pots and pans or something?
yeah, I don't even know. Like we have all that. Like it blows my mind to how these people complain. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I don't want it to come off like, oh, we give this like shithole. Like no, like these are beautiful places and they're right downtown, right by a college university. And like, I don't understand. Sometimes people just like, what were you thinking you were getting? Like you thought you were gonna stay. So now like whenever somebody books, like, yes, it's a brick older house. You know what I mean? Like you're getting a full 3-bedroom apartment to yourself, and some people I was like,
Straight first world problems, it sounds like.
it really is. So I don't know. That's I guess maybe the only thing that upsets me now. Like the entitlement of people that don't. That's why obviously we get along because we're willing. Obviously, you put this podcast together with no intention, or obviously there's an intention at some point to monetize it or whatever. But it's like no, you're just doing this because it's a challenge to you. It's something new. It takes a lot of effort, and why not?
Yeah.
And I love that. Anybody that puts effort into anything, we're gonna get along. If you're entitled and you're lazy, we're probably not gonna get along, right? And that's the problem I think now is a lot of people with Instagram, and you can see people that it looks like they're not doing a lot, but they have a lot because you're seeing highlight reels, right?
Yes.
So when people think that I should have that doesn't look like whatever they're doing is that hard. They're not seeing what's behind the scene. Like I've knocked on tens of thousands of doors. I've had so many doors slammed to my face. You know what I mean? So people could be like, oh, this guy, he doesn't work that hard or he gets to travel all over the place. And, I hate him and he has it lucky or he got something given. Don't get me wrong. I've had a lot of lucky things in my life. I'm born, you know what I mean? Like I had 2 parents, I didn't struggle for food. You know what I mean? Like I'm very lucky, but also I took an opportunity and I seized it just like you guys do. And whatever that is, I put effort in. I was disciplined. I didn't spend money on stupid shit. I didn't drink. I didn't party. I worked many jobs. I bought rental properties along the way. So yes, there's a lot of decisions that you make that get you to where you want to go. And if you can't take responsibility of like, hey, I made those decisions. I ate that food I shouldn't have eaten, or I didn't go to the gym. Like nobody forced you. Yes, my mind was chaotic, but I still had to figure out like, okay, there is an end destination that we got to get to, and there are decisions and actions that I have to take to get me there. And if you can put yourself in the position to like, I don't care how it feels right now, I know if I do these things over a long enough time horizon, I'll be in a better position than if I don't, or if I make a different decision,
Hell yeah.
So
Great rant. Right
yeah,
there.
sometimes
That's
I'll just go on a
phenomenal.
rant. Yeah.
Oh man.
I like
So, segueing it off of that, what belief about service, success, or helping others did you hold for years before having to unlearn it? Like something that changed how you see work in your mission.
What's changed? You know what I mean? So I think at the beginning, I didn't even think about it. I mean, to be honest with you, I think at the beginning, I got a lot of good little tips here and there from my dad of like how to be a good service provider, like how to think about the client and how to I had a lot of techniques of how to sell, but then like the biggest thing that kind of changed my trajectory was basically like I mean, I think if you have a moral compass, genuinely, you don't have to think about it. Like, because I didn't really think about it at the beginning, and I still knew that like you do have to do right by the client. You know what I mean? You can't just take advantage of people, right? So even though I wasn't thinking about it necessarily, it came naturally to me to like, I'm not just gonna like sell somebody something that they don't need or try and rip them off to get as much money as possible. So I think that came naturally to me. But later on, obviously, because at first, like, you have no money, right? Like, I have to go sell something to make money at all. So yes, you're in a scarcity position. So that scarcity mindset will make you just do things a little bit maybe at a more fast pace than you probably should. You should slow down and think about things more thoroughly. So now I think purely, I don't even think about how much money I make from any sale or any client or anything like that. I genuinely just take as much time as possible with that person just to figure out what's the most value and best service possible that I can provide to that person. And then
Similar philosophy here.
yeah, and the one thing that my dad was really great at was always telling me, he said, if you just continue to work and if you continue to provide the best thing possible, don't ever worry about the commissions, don't ever worry about any of that. He goes, the money will come, right? If you stick at something long enough and if you're in a good enough industry, if you have a good enough product, if you have a good enough service and you do it long enough, the money will come. And he did tell me that, like, at the beginning.
Your dad sounds like he'd be a great guy to interview too.
I'd
be around still. Did he ever do any kind of podcast or get interviewed?
It was like right in 2017. It was like right when, maybe you start getting into things like that. And if he was around, like I would have loved to interview him and talk to him about this stuff. Because not only has the craziest stories, but like little nuggets of information that he could drop just like in a regular conversation about, like, just because I say I knocked on 10,000 doors, this guy has knocked on 100,000 doors. You know what I mean? And I remember one of my buddies, my buddy's grandma was my dad's client for years and years and years.
Okay.
And I remember when my dad was teaching, training me, right? He brought me to the houses and stuff like that, and we went to my buddy's grandma's house just to like review some details with her. And she, I don't know if it's good to say, but like she basically was like, I don't really know what I have, but I trust your dad 100%. He could sell me anything and I'd buy it. You know what I mean? Basically saying like, I trust your dad so much. He's been my advisor for years. He always takes care of me. I don't really even care what he's selling me because I know it is the right thing for me. Obviously, he's telling her and things like that, but it's like, I have other things that I focus on, just like all of us. Like, and that's what I've learned over the years is like, you can't do everything, and you don't really want to do everything for yourself. It's good to have a broad understanding of things, like, but you want to be able to outsource some of your, some of the things that somebody else is much better at.
Course.
And let them handle those things, right?
Yeah.
And
it sounds like your father was an influential enough individual. When you carry a presence into a room, there's less selling involved. You know what I mean? Like if someone opens the door and they just feel like this presence, like, man, this guy is completely sound in who he is. He knows what he's good at. I feel like there's less that has to come out of your mouth for them to be convicted.
Oh,
do you agree?
Oh, my dad, because he had been, it's like anything we were talking about, like the more you do something, the more confident you just become at that thing, just because it becomes more natural, right? And it's not like you say you go on stage and you talk. I know you did like Toastmasters and stuff, right? So like the first time you speak on stage, like to most people, that's the scariest thing you'll ever do. But the more you do it, it just becomes, hey, I've seen this before. Hey, I've done this before. So those nerves that you have on, the first time you do it, they just like, they calm down, right?
Yeah.
They calm down.
Yeah.
And after you've done something long enough, when you walk into a situation and you feel so calm and confident in that situation and authentic, right? That is something that people can just, they just feel, right? So when I was first starting out, I didn't know anything about, selling insurance. And I would walk into these houses. I'm, shitting bricks, right? I've never been in there, but my dad's been in the tens of thousands of doors. So he just walked in with confidence. I remember it was fun.
Yeah.
Because when we first started, like, you would knock on doors, like just knock on random, they send in a card, like, hey, I'm curious about this. But like, I was like, Dad, do we call these people beforehand? He's like, no. He goes, then they say no. He goes, we just show up, So I remember he would just like, he would knock on doors. He would be so confident, like, hey, I think these people are home and they're not answering, right? And he would knock on the door. He would walk around and he'd knock on the back door, open the door up. Hey, are you home? Are you home? Like,
Wow,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, no, I know these
He
people.
had put in the reps. He knows what the greater chance for success is.
So
it makes me think of what we just did.
Yeah, so confident, so cool. And then also knowing, he's like, I have done this so many times that I know that if I don't talk to this person and this person had a question about something, I'm leaving that person underserved, because I know this person had questions about something and I know that I can help them. So if I don't go here and I don't give it every effort I can to make sure that I can spend time speaking with this person, I'm doing them a disservice, because I know now too, if a client calls me and I don't spend time with them, they're going to be confused. They're not going to get the best service they could.
Yeah.
And I know that if I talk to that person, they're going to gain something from it. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So it becomes it becomes your moral duty. You're like, no, my duty is I have to now get as many people, in front of, because I know that I can help them. It becomes
So walk us through a structure of a typical week for you with the Airbnbs and your business and the clients that you have. How do you structure your week? Do you fly by the seat of your pants, or do you have a method of the madness?
So now it's become very easy. I'm not gonna lie.
All right.
Life is very good now, right? So before it was hectic. I was trying to do as much as I can. I'm always doing this and that other thing. The beautiful thing about my business now is the majority of the business happens in a short window of time, right? It basically happens at the end of the year between October and December. That's kind of like our busy season per se.
Oh, all right.
And then after that, it's just kind of keeping up to date with clients and referrals and new clients, things like that. But for the most part, I don't really have to be in the office. I have an office. If clients want to meet with me, I'm always available to them. But I travel a lot, and I usually set up appointments with my clients. One week a month, I'm back in Pennsylvania, and I'll set those appointments up with my clients.
All right.
And then everything else can be done virtually, or I can talk to them online.
Yeah.
And then with Airbnb, I have a good maintenance team. It's a married couple that they're always on top of things. They keep things clean. They're always there. And then I can just manage
some
everything
leveraging,
from the
some
phone.
outsourcing.
Yeah, I mean,
the things that
Delegation.
I don't need to I was just talking to my buddy about this too. It's like, I was just trying to learn how to do coding, like Python coding,
Really?
Yeah, from with ChatGPT and Gemini and stuff like. So I learned how to code some stuff and
for fun.
Yeah, for fun and
for business.
For business, yeah, for fun and for business, but also to be able to analyze some data with some client data and stuff like that. But in the process, I'm trying to learn just information about AI and all this other stuff, just so I can understand the foundation of something, so I can speak the language, so I understand. So I was giving the example of you don't want to delegate things out that you don't understand. And when you said delegation,
Wow. Yeah, I've learned that one the hard way.
Yeah, exactly. You can try and delegate something out, let me build this app, but I don't know any details of it. You're going to delegate it out, and this person's just going to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If somewhat of an understanding.
You need to know the basic foundation. So same thing with rental properties and stuff like that. When I first walked through my first rental property, it wasn't even one I bought, but I was with my realtor, and we're going through for an inspection or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he was a really good realtor. But he's like, what do you think in the basement or whatever? I'm like, everything looks good. He goes, no, he goes, the foundation's cracked. He goes, this is an old pipe, this is copper pipe. This is, and stuff that I didn't know. And if I didn't understand, like I would have just been taken advantage of, or I would have bought something I didn't know.
Yeah.
So now I know basically how to build a house. I'm not good at it, but I'm not going to delegate something out that I don't know. So like I know the foundations of it,
That's where
right?
they say
Oh, for
knowledge is
sure.
power. You got to kind of have an understanding and know to a point.
I know,
Yeah.
I know
what you're getting
exactly what
into.
you're talking about. There's
Yeah.
been so many times where I've outsourced something because you don't want to learn it, and you're like, hey, I'm going to lean on an expert for this. But if you absolutely know nothing about that, you're most likely going to get taken advantage of. You got to have a slight understanding to know if this person's pulling the wool over your eyes or they're slacking off.
Yeah. for
Facebook
sure.
ads is where my mind goes immediately. I never wanted to learn ads. and
Right.
the-
People can charge
Metrics
whatever.
and all
You
that
have no
shit.
idea.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, and then the older I get too, it becomes like a game. It's like, if I'm playing a game and I'm the main character of the, the game, I'm like, I want to learn how to make the game as fun as possible. So like, this
Yeah,
is just
that's
another
it.
skill that I can add to my tool belt in
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's how I look at it now. It's like, it's just a game I'm playing. It's kind of fun. So,
Yeah. So what are some non-negotiables for you in life? Obviously, you take care of yourself when you're traveling abroad. I mean, in business and life. What are some things that you're like, I will always do this. It'll always be a part of my life, my day.
Oh, for me, yeah. Like I was telling you before, I start my day the same, non-negotiables. Like I wake up, I do at minimum like 30 like knee squats, get my legs going, 30 push-ups, and then I take a cold shower. So it's just like a quick, easy, like 5-10 minute routine. But like
Primes the body.
yeah, it just says, hey, this is how the day starts, right? And just tells yourself like, hey, your body's moving, like so many people, they wake up in like a state of chaos.
Dude,
Yes. So get a win. You know what I mean? Get a win. So
There you go.
it's
Get
a little
win.
difficult. Get your first win of the day. Make your bed. Like it's very simple.
You're
And
making it sound simple, but believe it or not, there's a lot of people, even successful men,
Mhm.
they don't have that mentality. They get up in their body. Like I have to, I foam roll and stretch every morning for the past 12 years.
Wow.
5 minutes,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, like you just laid down for 8 hours,
Right.
however long you sleep, your body's rigor mortis. There's no
Exactly.
way you don't feel stiff when you wake up.
100%.
If someone just foam rolled every day for 5 minutes for a week, you'd realize how much better you feel just getting out of bed,
100%.
starting your day with that.
Well, and the crazy, because I'm very lucky in the sense too, like I've had so many opportunities in life that have just given me a better outlook on the future because I've been dealing with senior citizens for the last, almost 20 years now. So you're basically, the way you live your life is based off of what this decision is right now and the outcome that it's going to achieve. Most people live in a very short viewed and short-sighted outcome, right? I was able to see the future every single day. I was able to look into the future and visualize what did this person do over the last 40, 50 years that brought them to this position now. And I was able to reverse engineer that because I saw it every single day. And unfortunately, most of the time, it was of what not to do because 90% of people ended up in a life, in a position, and unhappy or unhealthy or unfit and, financially set. And I'm like, what did they do to get here? I'm like, it didn't just happen overnight that you're 65, 70 years old and you're 100 pounds overweight, you're in debt, have no money. It's like, that didn't just happen. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of decisions that you had to make to get to that point. So I saw that very early on. So I just reverse engineered it and said, what are the things that I know that I should not do, and avoid those. And basically, so many people, they sit in this, you might sit in a fountain of doubt because there's so many doors to go through to live a successful life. There's millions of ways to create a life that's worth living. But if you don't do anything, most people don't do anything. It's like a fear of,
Very true. I was just thinking
It's
that.
a
Most
fear-
people do nothing.
yeah, it's a fear of failure or a doubt or whatever it may be, and too many options. Like I have too many options, so I don't know what road to choose. And I think the easier way, because I didn't know what I wanted to do, if I would have looked back at 15-year-old me and said, hey, Matt, you're going to be, a Medicare insurance agency owner and a real estate investor, managing rental properties and stuff, I'd have been like, I don't even know any of that stuff. You know what I mean? So like, I didn't have like a direct path. And a lot of people like that, I feel like a lot of people like you could be, struggling with that. And for me, I think it's more important for you to say, what are the things that I know that I need to avoid, right? I need to avoid not taking care of, my health. I need to avoid not understanding money, right? I need to understand, how to avoid, basically doing drugs and, not taking care of myself. So like, if I avoid these 3 or 4 things, like my life will be amazing and doors will just go open, right? You don't need to know the path to go down. It's really, what are the 3 or 4 things to avoid? And then the path will just show itself. Like, there's no way that your life can be miserable if you surround yourself with good people, you take care of your health, you learn money and finance, you work hard at whatever you do. Like, how can you lose? Like, what is the loss there? Like, you just can't lose. And
Great philosophy. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, man.
100%.
But
100%.
I mean, that simplified it quite well.
Yeah, I think and for me, I'm much more motivated by like loss, like the nice car, the nice house, things like that. That was never really motivating to me, but like being a loser, very much motivating. Didn't want to be that. Did not want to work for somebody or do something I hated for the rest of my life, working for somebody else. That was very motivating, right? Like it was always the fear of something miserable was much more motivating to me than like the success. And some people are different, but if you can avoid like what are those miserable things that you know that you don't want in your life, set those like crystal clear. Like, what do I do not want my life to look like? Do I want to sit in, like, what's the worst outcome that my life could look like? Do I want to, like, this version of me that's like the sloppiest, loserist person, and visualize that person and be like, and be like, what are the things that I know that I can avoid doing that will get me away from that person, and just don't do those, right?
Wow. What would you say are 3 things people could do to get their careers and skills on track?
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, I think at the end of the day, like, anybody can learn anything if you have the right motivation. And for me, find out what your motivation is, but I think the more, like, why are most people attracted to, like, I don't know, anger and, hostility? Because we're more prone to be aware of danger. So pull in that negative, and it's fine. Just pull that negative in as a good. It's just an energy source. It's not like you have to be a miserable person. It's just like, no, this is a negative energy and a vibe of who I could be, and I'm going to use that energy source to direct me to become a better version.
Yeah,
you can't just have one energy source pushing you. You got to have a push and a pull.
That's much more uncommon. But even if you had a piece of paper in front of you and you wrote down what you don't want to be versus what you want to be, which one is going to drive you more?
And
I
you
would
figure that out for
honestly be
yourself.
with you. I would say it's what you don't want to be.
I think most people are, and if you can be honest with yourself, it's like, yeah, that's fine. But like, we have to live in reality. You know what I mean? Like, you have to live in reality and be like, hey, what do I actually want, right? Because most people think about like, oh, what do I want? But they don't think about like what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
And when
it's also comfortable to not go there. If
Yeah.
someone has the dream of buying a G-Wagon or a nice home, if they don't get it, their life isn't ruined.
Correct.
But if they don't want to be a loser,
Yep.
that's much more like, oh man, I know what being a loser feels like. I definitely don't want that. But if you don't accomplish a G-Wagon, it's like, okay, I just, it's always a pipe dream now.
Correct.
But I'm still living my dandy life.
Exactly. And it's easy to look at like the future of like, oh, what my life could be, because it's kind of fun. It's like, oh, that's cool. I get to look at the future and future looks bright, right? But if you actually sit down and say like, because it takes a lot of work to get that future. And so you can justify to yourself like, oh, maybe I'll get it one day or whatever. But like, if you actually sit back and say like, no, I know my life will look like this, because it's not guaranteed that you'll get the success, but it is guaranteed that you will get that terrible life if you don't do anything. You know what I mean? And that's I guess a big motivating factor for me.
Yeah. Has the success that you've achieved personally made you happier, do you think? Has it changed your thought process on what happiness is?
Yes. Genuinely yes, because money is very important. And money is very important in the sense of like, I don't worry about money anymore. It's amazing. That's great. I used to always think about like, and I still do, like, I have it in my mind, like, I'm cheap in a sense of like, I won't overpay for something just because it's more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves a good deal.
I look at everything at value, right? Money for me is value, right? And if you're going to provide me more value, okay, I'll exchange more money, whatever, right? But for me, money was always control and freedom. And if I'm going to sacrifice, control and freedom for some stupid thing that doesn't really mean anything, that doesn't mean anything to me. But when it came to like internal success of like how I feel about who I am and just in general confidence and peace of mind and things like that, yeah, when you do things long enough and you have enough evidence, like, yeah, you're gonna feel better. Like, you know what I mean? Like I used to in my 20s, like I used to think and talk and speak in a way that was incongruent with what I actually had. You know what I mean? Because I believed it, but I just didn't have it. I haven't achieved it yet.
So you were faking it till you made it.
Wasn't even faking it. It was more just like I have a genuine belief that I know what life could be.
Okay, yeah,
and I have
speaking it into existence. I've been there.
But I just think that like, hey, whatever you guys negative mindsets of X, Y, and Z, I think this, and I think if you do this long enough, like you will have a better life. I didn't have that yet, but I was like, I just believe in it. And now I don't really have to confirm that anymore because I just have results. You know what I mean? Like I just have results. So like nobody really questions my beliefs anymore because there's nothing to question. Like I have everything I've ever wanted. Like genuinely, like I don't have anything I've never not wanted. Yeah. So it's like, great. Okay.
How much do you think your health and fitness played a part into your success?
A lot. You know what I mean? Like I think when you have a good foundation, you feel great every single day. And because you're so in touch with your own body, you know when things are off. What I was going to say, we got off track when I was talking about like, because I deal with senior citizens, that unfortunately have lived a life, most of them that live and now some people are taking 15, 20, 30 medications every day. So they don't really have a good grip on like one thing's a little off because everything's off every day. Everything's painful every day. You know what I mean? So when you're living in chaos every single day, you don't really know what button to push to make things better. But if you live in a very good position, and then one day something is a little off, like, like for instance, today, whatever, I was boxing this morning and my knee felt like a little tweaked, but like only a slight little bit. But I felt it because I usually have very, good feelings of all over my body.
You're
so
in
I can
tune with
feel
your
it.
body.
So
Absolutely.
I can act, so I'm in tune. So now I can focus a little bit. Okay, what happened to tweak it? So like, if you don't have that and you're kind of always kind of, all over the place financially, if you're all over the place, with your body, you don't have control over anything. You don't really see the slight adjustments.
We explain it to our clients as we are well tuned Ferrari engines,
Mhm.
right? We're operating at a very high frequency. A lot of people are broken down Hondas. You know, I mean, you open that hood, you're like, what? Where do I even start? What is it? What's the source?
Yeah.
And most people don't understand what it even feels like to be even close to that high operating frequency. You know, all day energy, sleeping like a baby, sharp as a tack. Most people are just getting by. They're surviving. They're not even close to thriving.
Yeah.
And that's the hunger that we have to give people that, like, hey man, you're living at a 5, a 6, a 7 out of 10. And you ought to feel like what a 10 out of 10 feels like. It's amazing.
Yeah. And I struggle with that sometimes in the sense of like, how do I feel and give empathy, because yeah, mentally I had some struggles in my 20s and things like that, but like I was always in pretty good shape. I always kept my body in pretty good shape. So like, I don't really know what it's like to like really fall off track so far, to like not feel good when I wake up. You know what I mean?
Awesome lifelong standard.
Yeah, exactly. So like I it's become so routine that like if I don't go to the gym, it's more painful. You know what I mean? Like
that's how in tune you are with your body.
Yeah, yeah,
between
yeah.
the knee tweak and not going to the gym, you feel those slight changes, those slight disruptions in such a great routine.
For sure. So yes, I think everybody should. Like I recommend it 100% to everybody. But I'm like, I don't know how to like you guys obviously deal with people that are specifically trying to feel better, look better, and have more confidence. It's tough for me to relate sometimes because I'm just like, how do you not know this? You know what I mean? I'm like, this is literally something that I've never let get out of whack. So I don't really know. And I don't think you guys have either, but obviously you've dealt with a lot more and focused a little bit more on it. But I'm just like, how did you ever even let it get to this point? You know what I mean? Like, how did you not have the foresight to be like, hey, if I drink every day for 5 years or just get hammered and, in my 20s, like, do you not think that's going to catch up to you? I'm like, I don't understand. Like, this is my mindset on it.
Well, most people don't fix what ain't broke, but that can become problematic because when you don't have any major issues, you keep just doing the wrong shit. And most people don't address it until it becomes a problem. And a lot of times people develop small problems that are manageable. They can live through the day with the headache. They can live with a slightly bum knee because they're not engaging in any sports. But then when it becomes a severe enough problem for them, whatever state that is, then it's like, oh, I got to fix something. But think of how far down the road you already are. Like you said, the clients you mentioned that take 15 medications. I mean, where do you begin? You lift the hood on that one. Where are you going to?
Yeah.
Honestly, I just don't even think in today's world most people know what feeling good feels like. They just wake up every day and you could ask any random person, how you feeling today? Let us say, I feel good.
Or I'm getting by. That's a common
Yeah,
one.
but like they don't even know what feeling good is because their body's become so used to the state that it's in that it's just normal.
Right.
Yeah.
But if they started exercising and eating a little better, I bet they would feel like a whole new person and have a new level unlocked of what good would actually feel like.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to like, what do you actually want your life to look like, And I really enjoy. I'm a curious guy. I like traveling. I like seeing new things, and I love walking. Like walking is like I probably walk when I'm in Mexico. I literally walk over 20,000 steps a day. It's like crazy. I just walk, everywhere.
Yeah.
But I just remember, when I went to Lima, Peru. Actually, it was funny. I went on a lot of trips that are amazing trips, and like these amazing places. I went to Egypt and whatever, but specifically I remember in Lima because we were going to, why can't I think of the name? What
was it?
Well, it's like in Lima, what's the name of it? Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu.
Machu Picchu.
Okay.
Right.
So we go up to Machu Picchu, and on our way to Machu Picchu, me and my ex-girlfriend, like, we're the youngest people in the van by far. Like, everybody's in their 60s and 70s, right? And I just remember this one guy. He was like, it was his life dream to see Machu Picchu, right? Like, he had been talking about. He was actually a police officer in Maryland for his whole life, but he was in terrible shape now, and he finally got the opportunity to come to Machu Picchu. And I remember when we're walking up the hill to get to Machu Picchu, it's like the most amazing thing. It's crazy. It's built in this like mountain city. It's wild. But because he was so out of shape, he couldn't even walk up to see it. So I just remember, I'm like, oh my God, he spent his whole life, and this was his dream that he could get to, and then he forgot to take care of the one thing that was gonna, be the most important thing to be able to see and view this spectacular sight, and he just couldn't do it. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm
Dude, talk about writing down what you don't want to be on a
100%.
piece of paper. Wow.
Yeah.
His
But most
invoice
people
game.
don't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
His invoice. Imagine most people don't think about that repercussion.
Yeah.
No.
That's what I was saying. Like, because I was forced to see it every single day, and I knew what I wanted my life to look like, but I also knew what I didn't want it to look like. And I'm like, I don't want to look like a person or feel like a person that can't walk or can't even have some bit of autonomy over their life. So that version, I'm like, okay, it's not going to happen overnight. Like one day you don't just wait. Like people, I love like some of the people, you know, that they'll come up to you like, oh, when I was your age, I used to look like that. I'm like, no, you never did. You never look like me.
I used to bench 315.
Yeah, or whatever.
There's another one, the strength, the
I'm like,
appearance.
I'm like, what
used to
happened?
be there.
I just woke up one day. I'm like, you just woke up one day and you look like that? I'm like, I don't think that's what happened. But yeah, it's just funny. It's like people think that. Like that's you don't just wake up one day and all of a sudden like you lose all of your strength. You lose, you know, it's like, no, I'm stronger than I was when I was 21, you know? So if you keep yourself, like, especially now, like with peptides and, you know, whatever it may be, like, I'm not taking TRT yet, but like, I'm 100% open to it if that ever comes to a point. Like, I test my my blood work every 6 months, and my T is, it's went up in the last like 4 years. So with technology and stuff, like, there's no excuse. There's really no excuse
isn't.
for you to
No.
like not
So
be
many
healthy.
remedies.
Yeah. So yeah, I think if you live for the next 5-10 years, like, I'm gonna be better shape than I was at 50 when I was, you know, at 20. I think, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's exciting. Like this stuff is exciting. But if you don't have the if you don't put yourself in a position over the next 5 to 10 years, I genuinely believe this. If you don't put yourself in a position financially, mentally, you know, physically, emotionally, to be able to handle the amount of change that's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years, you're not going to be in a good position. Like, you can see how chaotic it's getting for people that don't have that good base already. Like, things are getting so crazy for most people because they don't have that good foundation. And I think the people that do, you know, it's terrible to say this, but like the people that do, like, you're going to be able to just live the most amazing life. And the people that don't, you're going to have like the necessities. Yeah, you won't have to worry about food. You won't have to worry about stupid things. Like, you might get a bigger flat screen TV, but your mental state, your mind is going to be chaos, and your body's going to be crazy.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So if you put yourself in a position now where you have that strong foundation, you're going to be able to just feel amazing. Your life is going to be beyond what you could have ever imagined it to be, with what technology is going to allow us to achieve. You
That
know?
is profound.
Yeah. Building off that, if you were to close down your businesses, who would you be down deep after that?
Yeah, I've thought about that. You know, I've thought about selling my businesses, and I always look back to the same thing of like, who do I want to be and who do I not want to be? And I don't want to be that person that has like a sole identity attached to something. Like, I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm the insurance agent. You know, I'm an insurance like, no. So I want to have my own identity and not have it attached to, you know, any one thing. So for me, it's just like, no, I'm just a guy. You know, I'm a lucky guy who's curious, who likes to grow, who likes to explore. So I could sell my businesses and I would still be the same person. You know,
Yeah.
I don't have that attachment. You know,
Yeah.
I love it. I enjoy everything that's brought me. I enjoy helping my clients. And I've thought about selling. I'm like, why would I sell it? I'm like, it's a great business. I'm like, I don't have to worry too much about it.
Yeah.
You know, and I also put myself in a position too that I'm not so reliant on it that, like, if it gets completely disrupted by AI or something like that, like I said, put yourself in a good foundation. Like, even if I didn't sell it and it just like, if everything just like collapsed right now and like my business just went to zero, I would be in a good enough position where, like, all right, good, because I don't need for much. I have more than I need, right? And I have a good foundation of mental, physical, emotional, you know, friends, whatever.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I don't need to sell it. If it went to zero, I'd be good, you know,
Yeah.
and if I get to keep it and I get to grow it more, great, you know?
Hey.
So
There's a reason you're sitting here, man. Those are words that not many can share. So it's,
I feel very grateful, man. I really do.
Yeah. If you were to look out decades from now and you look back on your life, what would you regret not doing in business, in life, or maybe your impact on others?
I think the main thing right now, you know, I'm at a position where I do want to have some children. You know what I mean? I think it's come to a point where, you know, like I was telling you, like I just want to have a compound. You know what I mean? Have a little compound, have some kids.
This is a
you
good
know.
state to do it in. There's a lot of
Yeah,
open
yeah,
land
yeah.
here. Good weather.
For sure. I mean, genuinely, I think even Mexico or even Colombia.
That as
you know,
well. Yeah.
Though my
okay.
buddies, one of my buddies, he's a really big fitness coach too. He bought like his own. He's really amazing guy, but they actually built a community in Montenegro. They have their own like community there. He has another one in Bali. Have you ever heard of Bali time travel?
No.
You would, yeah, same thing. Like this guy, one of his
Bali time
mentees,
travel.
yeah, he bought this land in Bali and he built these like houses, and it's just men go for 28 days and they basically just completely transform themselves in 28 days. It's a wild concept. But then they also have another bit of land in Vanuatu. It's right off of Australia. It's a little island. So they basically like bought this island. It's like a part of the island, and they built their own community. So like that's why I kind of want to have like a little whatever, travel a little bit, go here. But he's got a really cool concept. He's Australian, but his wife's from Germany. So like they travel all over the place, and they homeschool their kids. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's what you would regret.
that's kind of
that's
kind of I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think I would really like regret. I try not to look at life like that as regret, but I think what's something that I think I would really enjoy, and what would I get a lot of fulfillment out of? I think having some kids.
Yeah. You think this current relationship, even being newer, could be?
We'll see. Are you still? We'll see if she's a good girl, huh? Keep her on.
Well said.
No, but yeah, life's
You learn
good.
a lot. You learn a lot being a dad, for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine for sure. So that's where the next focus might be on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with having accomplished so much, you've got the freedom, you've got the lifestyle. What does winning look like for you now in life? You're already winning, but what does it look like continuing to go forward?
Yeah, I like I said, I do not anymore measure when you're first starting. Yeah, it's nice. Like numbers are good. Like they're a very good indicator when you're first starting out to like, make sure you're on the right track. And it never hurts to like pull up your net worth, every now and then, and every day maybe, and just just give it a little like, hey, make sure it's going in the right, make sure it's going in the right direction. It's great, you know what I mean? That's nice to have. But for winning, I genuinely measure that on how do I feel when I wake up, when I look at myself, and am I growing? Am I pushing myself? Am I at least trying to be curious? Am I not stuck in a rut? Like they're measurements like that. It's not really like a financial thing. It's not like a number of clients thing. It's nothing like a metrics thing like that, because those numbers, I know I've already achieved what was far past my expectation. And, I don't need to be the biggest, best thing, on the planet in any industry. I'm not competing for anybody like that. But for me, it's always, am I doing the best? Am I being the best version of myself? Can I learn something new? Am I acting in a way that's congruent with who I am? Am I not acting emotionally, irrationally? Things like that. That's winning to me.
Stellar morals.
Yeah, I try. I'm still human. I still have vices. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Not perfect.
Don't we all? Yeah.
Well, if you're talking about having kids, if they were to be watching this from 20 years from now, what would you want them to know about you and why you chose the path that you did in life?
I mean, the path that I want my children to go down is a path where they understand that effort is the key to happiness for a man. You know what I mean? Putting yourself in a position where it's like, I put some effort in, I did some difficult shit, I learned some things along the way. I had some losses along the way, but I had some great wins, right? I made some amazing relationships. I became valuable to the people that I care about. I became a person that had some value to give. I didn't just take, right? I looked to see how can I provide, how can I protect, how can I be a man, or my daughter maybe, how can I be the best version of myself to the people that I care about. I think it's a very different, for me at least, a different road for men and women. So I would teach, I would raise my daughter and my son completely different. Like I would probably be very, not hard, but I would definitely not make the life of my son as easy as I would for my daughter. You know what I mean?
It's It's very true. I
Yeah.
have a son and a daughter, and it's completely
Oh wow.
opposite.
Yeah.
Right,
I can
he's got
imagine.
Complete
both.
opposite. I'm way harder on him because it's almost like you hold a little bit higher of a standard of what kind of man you want him to be. But then your daughter's more of like the little princess, like you're a little easier on her. And I mean, I hear that time and time again. It could be subjective, but that's kind of what I feel myself.
And I think it's just like it's setting them up for the real world. Like in reality, the world is not that easy for men. So don't make it easy for men. Like I remember like
More so for women, you're saying it is?
I believe so. Yeah, I mean, for women, it's people will go out of the way to be nice to a beautiful woman. Like nobody really cares about if you're successful as a man. Like if you're not, like you just don't become valuable, you know, to the marketplace. If you're not valuable to the marketplace, like nobody really cares. Like nobody's gonna go out of their way to like. I saw this post the other day. Like some girl just like posted like, "Hey, I'm like, you know, some whatever entitled, you know, white American girl, right? But here's the thing, she's gonna get it. She posted like, "Hey, I don't like Florida anymore. I'm moving to Arizona, but I don't want to drive. Me and my pup. So anybody know anybody with a private jet?" And like, of course, it was a bunch of people like, "This is crazy. This is." But then there was like all these, you know, women like, "Get it, girl. Smart idea. Whatever." But here's the thing.
A little backup.
And then I was just like, I don't even know who this girl was, but it was just like, and I read down, and there was like 3 guys that were like private jet guys, like, "We got you." Nobody's gonna be like, "Hey, guy, we got you for the private jet."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No man would, you know, have that opportunity.
True.
You know, these are extremes, of course, but it's like, yeah, if you're a man and you don't have any value to give to the world, like nobody's gonna really care. You know what I mean? Like you gotta drive to wherever you're going. It's
point.
it's the truth. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I just didn't want to be that guy, you know, where people didn't, you know, could just step on you. And so that's
Well,
why I
shit.
wanted control.
Luckily, you got it all. You got the looks, you got the muscles, you got the money, you got all the bases covered.
And it's
I mean,
And
it's definitely the pinnacle of a man. Even though you maybe can't quite get what a woman can, you can get the best you can as a man having
Yeah.
those things.
You know, I think the most important thing is just to be comfortable with yourself. And if you're not,
man.
don't worry about it, but get better, because you're like, hey, I don't have whatever I have now. Like I was a skinny little punk kid, and I'm still a skinny kid, and I won't be.
Same, man.
And
how
I won't.
How much did you weigh in high school?
130, 35 pounds.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
120 here. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
skin-
100.
Yeah, tiny,
Yeah, dude.
you know.
Amen
so,
to that.
So those insecurities also push you, right? So like, I think if you don't have something, that's the best thing, because then it allows you to work for something. Like if you just had everything, like there's nothing to work for. You know,
True.
it sucks because you don't have it. But like, what motivation do you have if you have everything? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Sheesh.
I'll close it out with this. What's the biggest piece of life advice that you would leave to the next generation?
Yeah, I mean I try not to give advice.
Oh, we're asking.
Yeah. Other than you
Or
know,
wisdom?
yeah, wisdom, whatever. You know, like I said,
Whatever word.
yeah,
Both.
you know,
Whatever we got to say to get an answer out of you.
yeah, exactly. So, whatever you think of yourself, it doesn't matter. You know, for the moment, if you think you're going to be able to achieve something, but you don't have the confidence to get it yet, and you're like, well, how do I get this confidence? Do anything tiny to get a little win. Genuinely, I think there's a book, it's, you know, win stacking, I think it's called. But like,
Okay.
basically, I remember.